What is going on, everybody? Welcome to week 2 of the Talk and Chop podcast, or episode 2. My name is Kevin. We've got Ty here, and we've also got our friend William White. He is going to be our A-list insider this season. You guys want to go ahead and say hello?
What's up, everybody? Well, glad to be back this week. Looking forward to talking some Braves.
Hey guys, good to see you. Sorry I couldn't make it on last week's podcast. I was on the way back from that disappointing loss to the Mets on Monday, but it's all good. Now I'm here on Sunday, so
There we
a
go.
lot better result today.
That's right.
Yeah. Overall, the week didn't end up the best as we hoped for, ending 3-3. But baseball's weird, and some of those games just got away from us, and that's what this podcast is for. We're gonna sit here and talk about it. So, first thing though, Marcel freaking Ozuna, he is a monster. Fun fact, uh, MLB ranks. He ranks first in RBIs. He has 21 home runs. He's first, tied for first with 7. WRC plus with third at 213. 373 average is in fourth. Slugging is 724, fourth place. OPS is 1.193, fourth place, and he has 21 hits, which I actually don't even think that stat was updated today. I think he has more today, which is in eighth place. That's insane when you think about the start that he had last year and into what he's done since right about this time last year, like May 1st last year. He's been one of the best hitters of baseball. It's crazy.
That's what I was wanting to think about all day today. Because, man, if you could take the start he's had it this year and then lump off the start of last year and then just combine the two, what kind of season is that? And then the other narrative I've heard coming into this season with him is, oh, there's no way he's going to be able to keep up the production numbers that we saw this time moving forward last year. But he seems like he's on track to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that 162 game mark, right? So
Yeah.
we're approaching. So, as we all, just as a reminder, I guess, but as we all know, he got out of the slump in Miami last year. So it's kind of a, almost right at a year. But I think I saw earlier this week, he's at 132 games since that point. So we're rapidly approaching that 162 game mark, and I'll be really interested to see how all the stats stack up over what would be a full season. And realistically, you could probably cut it off at 155, something like that, just to account for normal days off for people who aren't named Matt Olson. But it's been unbelievable how good he's been since that mark. And I'll be honest, I thought coming into the year, he said, I expected him to be good, but not as good as last year. And I came into the year, and I think most people did, just assuming this is his last year. Like they won't extend him. This is it. It's been, a roller coaster ride. Some really great moments, some very not great moments. But he plays like this, you're gonna have a hard time not bringing him back. And he's loved in the clubhouse, and obviously there's been the off-field issues, but production's undeniable. So I don't know what y'all's thoughts are on it, but
Yeah, it's really interesting that you bring up the 132 game pace because I mean, we all know he did 40, 100 last year. So right now in 132 games, he's hit 47 home runs and like 121 RBIs.
in 32
What?
in 32 games, not
Yeah, in 132. So
yeah,
like when you take
or
it to
100.
like a full season sample size, he's at what, like 50, 130? Like that's like a Matt Olson season that he had last year.
It's unbelievable the turnaround he's had. And yeah, I love I've noticed he's the mix it up is back in play.
Notice that.
He's been rounding first. He's got a whole routine with the he's doing the wing flapping from last year, the mixing it
He
up
does
from
it all.
years ago. He's got it all. Like it's all good. So why cut anything off the list, right? So it's been. I would love to see that come back. I know that was a really exciting. I don't know what you call it. Celebration that the team had a few years back. So
Does Marcelo Ozuna have a top 5 home run trot in MLB?
I'd be hard. I don't know. I mean, Tatis is from what I've seen out of Tatis, like his is going to be tough to top.
He hit a bomb the other night versus the Dodgers to come back and win. They were down, I don't know, like 5-1 at one point, and they came back and won. The Padres did.
Yeah. So
Yeah, dude. It's just it's crazy to think that like this time last year we were like, why is this guy still on our team? And now we're like, he's our MVP.
Oh, I
Yeah.
think he's earned the club option for next year. I mean, maybe this game by itself showed you that.
Yeah.
If you didn't already think that, what we've seen so far this year, and today's saving us, bailing us out at the end like that. I don't know who else you'd get for the kind of value would be paying him and get that kind of production. So
What is so I didn't realize he had a club option.
Yeah, he's a club option next year for like 16, I think. 16 million.
yeah, it's a no brainer.
Yeah, right.
Even if you got 80% of this kind of production, which like he's gonna cool off. Let's be honest about it. He's on a heater right now. We know that, but he's shown that he can have these kind of numbers throughout the whole season. So I mean, it will he cool off? Yes, but I still expect the same kind of production we're seeing out of him.
Yeah, I mean, even if he doesn't even exceed last year, even if he still hits 40 with 100 RBIs, like that's a no-brainer. Like any team would love to have that for
Well, and that's what he did last year, right? He had 40 and 100.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was really only in like 5 months, like after May 1st when he actually turned it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then if you took that and then took what we've got so far, he'd be at 121 RBI and 47 home runs. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah. Fun fact, since May 1st of last year, Ozuna is second in home runs and RBIs. Who do you think's first? Matt Olson.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
It pains me to say I was gonna guess oh let's throw it again, Pete Alonso, but
Yeah.
I didn't
No,
want to.
no. I think P. Alonso still had like 40 home runs last year or something like that. But yeah, we have like the two biggest power hitters in baseball, it seems like, at least over the past year. Like I'm sure somebody else will take that throne at some point. Judge. I haven't really been keeping up with Judge and the Yankees too much. I know they're like 12-3 or something good, but
Yeah.
um, but
My
yeah,
coworker is a big Yankees fan, so he's always texting me. I'm like, dude, I haven't heard anything from you about this for years now. Now you want to talk baseball? Come on. But no,
yeah, now they're good.
Yeah.
I haven't watched much of them, honestly.
Yeah, I haven't really either. I've seen a couple highlights and stuff, and sometimes I bet on Soto and my prize picks, but other than that, yeah, I don't really keep up with them too much. But
We need Marcel to do exactly what he did about this time and go whisper into some guys' ears and
Yeah.
get them on track like he did to Harris. So, I mean, I know Ronald is starting to look like himself again, but I'd like to see more of that power come out of him. So, Big Bear, can you go whisper in Ronald's ear before he walks up there, please? Because Braves country's dying to see Ronald just break out. You know what I mean?
yeah, hey Ron,
We
you're the
want to
fucking
see
MVP.
that long ball. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up though. Ronald is definitely returning to form. This week he was 7 for 22, so he's hitting 318, 5 walks, 6 stolen bases, 7 runs scored, and only 2 strikeouts all week. That's the Ronald that we need to see. I don't really care so much about the homers. Yeah, I know they're like 40, 40, 40, 50 or whatever season he can have would be awesome. But like if he's getting on base, stealing bags, scoring runs, like that's everything we need Ronald to be.
Yep. The
Yeah, I think he's had some more go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. The first run scored tonight. I thought is the Braves play-by-play guy's name is escaping me, but
CJ.
No, on
Brandon
radio.
Cotton?
No,
Oh, on the radio.
On radio.
Anyhow, said that's the most Ronald run you'll ever see, right? He walks, steals second, and scores from second on a single. Is that right? Or did he? I can't remember. Yeah, I mean, but we're right back to like a walk turns into a double. It's almost like he steals every time he gets walked. I don't know.
Yeah, if he's on first, he's going to second.
Yeah, unless it's the ninth inning of today. By the way, I know we won the game, but
I did notice that.
Yeah, I was really surprised he didn't take second that inning, or at least
because he led off the inning, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he was on first.
Yeah, so with Ozzy on at the plate, like you would think he would try to take second there, but I guess you don't want to risk making the out. But like he's invincible on the bases, it seems like.
If you watch that first pitch that Ozzy got after Ronald got on base, it was a slow 85-mile-an-hour breaking ball. So Ronald had time to get there.
Yeah. It's tough to make that decision on the first pitch though. He probably wanted to see him make a couple of pitches to make sure he gets a good jump on him, but and he was probably almost expecting more or less a pitch out, like a high heater up in the zone that, he could pop up real quick. But I mean, the catching duo in Miami is not quite what ours is. So uh, I don't know.
Do we think that Ronald is, and I haven't looked at this in depth enough, so maybe it's just a good discussion. Maybe y'all will know better than I will. Do we think that he's getting the looks that he was getting last year? So, like, are people trying to pitch around him, and maybe that's where he's struggling, is having to adjust to others adjusting to him?
That's a good question. I haven't really noticed it personally. I know he is swinging at a lot of breaking balls and sliders and stuff, and he's making hard contact, but he hits so many grounders to short, especially the first at bat of the game. It's like almost every time this season at least. And so maybe that does have something to do with it, but I highly doubt anybody's going to groove him a first pitch fastball like very often this year at all.
He certainly was being really aggressive on first pitches in the series in Philly, but since then I've kind of seen him back off on his normal attack the first pitch. He's,
Mhm.
if you ask me what I'm seeing from him, I think he's being a more mature hitter. I think he's being a little bit more selective, and then that's what that shows, in the stat line with he's only had 2 strikeouts this week. So
Mhm.
he's getting on base, and I think Ty, this is something you and I talked about when we were at the game on Tuesday is if they're going to walk him, if they're gonna pitch away from him, he's got to create havoc on the base path.
Yep.
So
Mhm. Yeah, and I think pitchers know that too. But I think something that a lot of people aren't really talking about too is that he had the knee injury in spring training. And
yeah, that's
so
true.
he missed a few weeks there. So he's like a few weeks behind everybody in terms of like seeing pitches and stuff like that. So it's
Oh man,
definitely good to
speaking
see.
of that,
Yeah.
on the Monday night game, I don't know if y'all talked about this in the podcast last week, but there was a pop up into right field in foul territory. I mean, it actually might have been Tuesday, but because I remember it's a little wet out there, and he goes running trying to get it, and it was an important out that we needed to make. But I was going, whoa, 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 Ronald, chill out with that. Do not go after that. I am much happier if we just lose this game to the Mets than you be done with a knee injury.
Yeah. He went for a ball. I think Jazz hit it today. Was kind of like there's one of those awkward, like he's running away from it, makes the same like awkward leap that he made when he tore his ACL. And I just kind of the cringe like whenever he does that, I'm like, oh shit, just like land cleanly, please. But ended up
That
working
was
out.
the
He
one
didn't make
right
the
after.
catch, but
Yeah, that was the one right after Duvey's same exact thing where it hit their glove. They didn't come down with it.
yeah. Man, Adam Duvall is the definition of like a strikeout power hitter. Like he'll surprise you with a home run every now and then, but he definitely strikes out a good bit. That strikeout in the seventh, I think, with some runners on, and he just swinging away at those sliders in the dirt, man.
I mean, I think that's the trade-off you get with the platoon, right? Like, how
Yeah,
in a rhythm can either of those guys get when they're
it's true.
seeing every other day?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, but all right, yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good week. Ended up 3-3. Unfortunately, we would wished it would have ended up better, but the series with the Mets was just weird. Like the bad weather again. Like hopefully we get a streak of good weather here over the next couple weeks. But the first game we mounted a pretty strong comeback against the Mets. Um, you know, effort Monday, but fell short. I actually don't remember the game game by game. I know we won game two and lost games one and three. Um,
Game one was uh, it was Charlie on the mound, right?
yeah, yep.
We went up, I think 4-0, and then they just surged back, and we really couldn't. We tried to catch back up to them, and we made it interesting there in the eighth and the ninth, but we just didn't have it. I think that was the one where, oh yeah, it was bases loaded. Ronald was up, and I thought for sure I was like, this is gonna be the first home run of the season. It would have been a grand slam. He ended up taking the walk, so it scored the run. But
I remember. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it got. I was there that day. It got loud, so it was fun. It was
And that was the 7:15
I,
night.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that
right.
was
Yeah.
the Hank Aaron night, which was
Yeah.
cool. But that made it bittersweet, right? It's like, man, we can't lose on Hank's night, but it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, it's baseball. It's all good. I'm not worried
Completely
about losing
understandable.
a series to the Mets one bit. Like,
No, and then I think the thing on Monday that I haven't seen anybody talk about too was we had 2 weird off days before that. They hadn't played in a while because you had rain out and an off day, I think, right?
that was before the weekend series. Um,
For the Diamondback series. So they had
Oh yeah,
played,
you're right.
was that last weekend? That feels like so long ago.
yeah. But to your point though, they've had it just like the first 2 weeks of the year, there've been seemingly a lot of rainouts, a lot of like playing in the rain or playing in the freezing cold. Like weather has not been
Hmm.
good for them. And obviously both teams have to play in the same weather, but even as a fan, forget about the players. I want to talk about me, right? Like as a fan, it's kind of hard to get into a viewing rhythm, right? It just seems like we've had very few of your standard like 7 p.m. Monday night games. So
Yeah.
hoping we can get back into the rhythm because like I don't watch the NBA and I don't know, Masters is over now, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of like looking forward to having my consistent Braves every night of the week. Or
Yeah,
almost.
weeknight Braves games are like my favorite thing for sure.
We've got 8
Like
p.m.s this week.
8 p.m.s. Oh yeah, in Houston.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that start Winans. Whew, that was rough.
Yeah.
On Wednesday. But I mean, he didn't look good, but some of those hits the Mets get, man, they're just they such like slappy hits that like very good BABIP hits. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like they're not smoking the ball. I think was that the one that P. Alonso hit a homer in, or was that game one? I don't remember, but
He had a
um
few.
it was base hits that found holes. That was also the very bad defensive game for the
Yep.
Braves.
Oh yeah, that was
Riley
the
booted a
biggest takeaway
ball.
of that day.
Harris booted a ball.
Arcia.
Yeah.
Well, Harris came up on that. He misjudged that line drive straight
Yeah.
to him, and then he tried to back up, and it went right over his head.
That's a catch that he usually makes. And yeah, it's a little bit of a misread, but we're just not used to seeing that too often. Like I don't want to say the Braves are like an elite defensive team. But they make the routine plays and they surprise you every now and then. Riley's been a freaking vacuum over there at third. So it's kind of odd to see him miss a ball like that.
Yeah. It
Yeah, and we
happens
knew
though.
we knew Winans was going to have, it was going to be what it was going to be, and certainly those defensive blunders didn't really help him out. So
Yeah. Yeah, but the Braves love playing in Miami though, that's for sure. I went down there
No
and took
doubt.
care of business on Friday. Saturday was weird. Offense just couldn't get it going. But man, today, Sunday, Marcelo Ozuna is just a freaking monster. Olsen too, getting 2 hits off the lefty. Luzardo. I was actually looking up at the matchups before the game. He was like 1 for 14 or something against him. So that was good to see him get a couple
Yep.
knocks. Took the big walk there
did
in the ninth to bring Ozuna up too.
did Harris get a hit? I think his one hit of the game. I think it was a lefty lefty matchup, and he honestly had a really good at bat there, where he had to be really disciplined, and I think he ended up knocking it into the outfield.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he smoked one out the middle, from what I remember. Um, but yeah.
If we back up to on this series, we back up to Saturday, so that's your Chris Sale start.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I
I love
I
his
thought
energy.
so. Yeah, there's that, and that inning that went awry where they took the lead. He didn't get that. He didn't get, I think, a strike three call, and
It was the at-bat to Burger. Yeah.
he was screaming. I don't know if he was screaming at himself, just screaming out of frustration, or if he was actually screaming at the ump. But it was cool to see. I mean, and then that's the energy that we wanted out. That's why we went and
Yeah.
got it. You know what I mean?
He's fired up in a game in April against the Marlins. Like, I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I did see a replay of his reaction. It was after he didn't get it. I don't think he was directly like yelling at Darno, but like he was saying, "Give me the fucking ball back." Like he's just ready to to go again. Like I could read his lips. Like that's what he said. Give me the fucking ball back. And so that was cool to see. And unfortunate the ump show this year has been a sight to see. But yeah, the inning kind of got away from him. I don't think he pitched bad by any
He
means.
was he was dealing before that inning. I mean, and even after that inning, he was still dealing. He was a
Yeah.
pitch away in that fifth from walking away with 60 pitches through five.
Yeah.
It could have happened.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think that's the other takeaway to see there in April. It's like, okay, it's going to go one way or the other. I don't want to make any big bold predictions about how he's going to look for the rest of the year. But the thing that encourages me is that even if you're going to give up 5 or did he give up 7, if you're going to give up that many runs, at least you got us through 7 innings. He threw 100 pitches. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So bullpen, obviously, we know we've been relying on them lately. Sale was fired up, even though he was struggling there, but he still carried us through a game, so we didn't have to dip into that bullpen.
Yeah.
And he said as much after the game. He said, so
Yeah.
first of all, his take on his own performance was not he was pretty good. I think he said, quote, if you're gonna pitch like shit, at least you can eat some innings.
Yeah.
So Chris, if you're watching, we don't feel like you pitched like shit. But like it's again, I think it's just another example of the attitude that this guy brings. And love having somebody like that in the clubhouse. Um, but
I
yeah.
mean, did you see what he said when Trumpy was catching for him? He
Mhm.
didn't go up. That was his first start. He went up to Trumpy and was like, "Are you ready for our game?" He didn't say like, "Oh, I'm ready to be back on the mound. Like it's my game." He was making sure that Trumpy knew they were a team and he had just as much to say after the fact about how good of a game Chadwick caught that day.
Yeah.
So I think they've been paired up twice, right? I think twice now.
Yeah, was
He's all
this was his third start, right?
correct. He's 1-1 because I think he got a no decision in the Philly series.
I think we lost that game. I don't remember if he took the
We
loss
did.
though.
Yeah, and I don't think he was charged with the loss. He certainly got the win on Sunday against the Diamondbacks, and then obviously the loss yesterday. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm fired up about Chris Sale. Like I'm not worried about him as long as, we said it last week. If he can make 20 to 25 starts with like a ERA under 4, like that's a win.
Yep.
Obviously, you want better than that, but I consider that a win if that's what we get out of Chris Sale.
Yep.
I mean, and then that's why we brought him, right? And then the other guy we brought in, Raylo. The two guys, that's what I love. The two guys that we brought in the offseason have been our most consistent. I kind of you know what to expect out of them. And they've been consistent all their starts.
Wait,
Mhm.
you're saying we brought in starting pitching this offseason? Because I
What?
could have sworn I've heard the Braves should have brought in starting pitching this offseason.
Yeah, I was told that we didn't bring any and we should have
Yeah.
gotten a
Oh,
frontline
this is
starter.
earth-shattering news. Um,
In the offseason, Alex Anthopoulos should focus on getting a 1 or a 2
yeah, I guess.
instead of
Um,
filling the other holes.
yeah. But yeah, like talking about like brilliant Anthopoulos moves, like Ronaldo Lopez, right? Like
Hmm.
you're able to get this guy who, we'll see how the season plays out. I mean, I don't know what his numbers look like right now, except to know that, my eyeballs tell me he's dominated his only 2 starts. Um, and we'll see if I'm sure he'll regress a little bit, but as of right now, it's looking like he's going to be a pretty, maybe not a dominant pitcher, but like a very good piece of the rotation. And, you were able to pay him as a reliever. So, I mean, just another like masterclass. Alex Anthopoulos playing 4D chess. Everybody else is playing checkers, right? Like to get somebody like that at that price because he's viewed by many as a relief pitcher. Just I don't know why people question this man anymore. Like he's so good at what he does.
So would you rather have Reynaldo Lopez for 10 million a year or Aaron Nola for 30 million a year?
Yeah, I mean, let's just assume there's like a budget, right? Like because the Braves do have a budget. They don't publicly release what that is, but if you spend 30 million on Aaron Nola, that means you have 20 million less to spend on one or more other people. Then absolutely rather have 10 million for Ronaldo Lopez. It's like without hesitation,
Hmm.
right? If now flip that and you say, okay, well, you either get, setting the money aside, probably rather have Nola, but like the value is so blatantly in favor of the Braves there.
Exactly. I think that's one big thing with Aaron Nola, and I think what a lot of like casual fans don't understand is they want to just throw a ton of money at these big name guys where Anthopoulos is more focused on value. and he wants to spread out. Like instead of having a couple superstars and a couple positions, he spreads it out. And not saying any of the players on the team are like mid or whatever, like not good. It's just like he's always looking for creative ways to get these deals done, like getting Kelnick and taking on those bad contracts to do that. I'm sure the Mariners didn't want to get rid of Kelnick, but they're like, hey, we'll also take on these other bad contracts that you don't want to pay, and then we'll figure out what to do with them later. But yeah, he's just I think everybody wishes they had Alex Anthopoulos as their GM. If they don't, then they don't know ball.
Yeah, 100%. No, by the way, the Braves have a top 5 payroll in the league these days. So
Yep.
He's getting
Number
value, and
6,
he's got
I
a
thought.
fat page checkbook too. So it's, I mean, really impressive work the guy does, really. So
yeah, we are definitely lucky.
I was just pulling up the Raylo stats from last year. I think to be worried about with him looking forward is his number of innings pitched. So I think if I'm looking at this right, I think he only pitched 66 innings last year. So that's what the concern. Yeah, that's what the concern is going to be. It's like, okay, he looks great.
we lost Will.
But
yeah, his point's spot on. Like, it's the concern is the longevity.
And you also have to take into account too that one of those starts was against the White Sox.
Yeah.
And one of them was against the Mets, right? Or did he pitch in the series? Yeah, in the Mets. Which, I don't think the Mets are a bad team. We're actually going to talk about this in a minute. Like the Mets are like sneaky good. But we kind of have to take that as in, factor that in at least. That he's been pitching against not great teams as well.
Yep.
But I don't expect him to go out there. I think he has like a sub-2 ERA right now. I don't expect him to keep that up over the course of the entire season. But if he can go out there and give us 5-6 innings of 2-run ball every week, like sign me up.
With this offense, yeah. I'll take 5-6 innings of 4-run ball every week, and he will be serving his, he's brought in as the 5th starter. Let's not. So, really excited to see what that guy brings to the table. But speaking of the 5th starter, Winans was not impressive on Thursday. I know we talked about some tough luck, some bad BABIP luck, some bad defense play behind him. Nonetheless, he gave up, we lost 17-3 or something like that. It got away from the team, and that's not a lot of blame on Winans, but clearly not a good showing from him. We got Vines coming up starting on Monday, I believe, in Houston. So he'll get a crack at it, but I'm curious to know what everyone's thoughts are on the long term, with Strider out for the remainder of the year, but hopefully back next year. What's the 5th spot in the rotation look like for the Braves for the rest of 2024?
It's a good question.
Yeah, wouldn't we all like to know, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I think we kind of talked about this in the group chat. It'll be kind of a revolving door until we find somebody who's hot. Elder will definitely get a shot at some point this year. I do think it is a little surprising that he hasn't been brought up yet. I think it's more so a, keeping his spot in the rotation type thing, or maybe they just want to see a few more starts in AAA.
I've heard that, but like in the case of Winans, we held him for like 4 days longer than he should have waited to get him to start. So I don't know if I truly believe that or not. I mean, I think that's probably true. I think you're waiting for the right guy to get hot, and I don't think they want to bring somebody up before they know absolutely sure they're ready.
Also think, sorry, go ahead.
I think Winans was more of a sacrificial plan, to be honest with you. Totally. They knew they could bring him up. I think they thought they could use him as long relief if like Sale or Charlie got into some trouble. And then if they had to do that, they might have brought somebody else. But I don't think he was never the answer. And I think everybody knows that.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like he was there in the bullpen just in case they needed a long guy to eat some innings there for a little bit. And then if they did use him in that role, then we probably would have seen Vines or Elder start tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. Or I mean on Wednesday against the Mets. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to seeing Vines tomorrow. I think Vines, from what I saw last year, he seemed pretty impressive. I don't remember him having a big bad outing There might be one I'm
Yeah.
forgetting, but in
I
general, I
think
felt
he
like
only
the
made one
control.
start, right, last year.
No, he had more than one. He had a couple there at the end of the year that got away from him. But the one that I remember specifically was his first start. I think his first
Mhm.
start with us was in Colorado,
Yeah.
where it's notoriously tough for, especially somebody getting brought up from the minors to pitch. And he had if I recall, he had a pretty lights out night. I mean, I think I remember walking away from that game just being impressed with the stuff he had.
Yep.
Like he had good command on curveball in Denver. So
Mm.
Yep. Yeah, I don't follow what's going on in Gwinnett very closely, but it's my understanding that he's been striking a lot of guys out down there. So I'm excited to see him. I'll be excited to see Elder when Elder comes back. And I think, AJ Smith-Shawver I would be utterly shocked if that guy isn't making starts this year at the big league level.
Mhm.
So I mean, I think you're going to see, like we said, a revolving door of folks there. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we talked about Ronaldo Lopez looking to, kind of rein in his innings or keep an eye on his innings pitch. I think the same thing can be said about Chris Sale. I think the same thing can be said about Charlie Morton. I think the same thing can be said about Bryce Elder. A lot of these guys, you're looking to manage their workload. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if at the end of the year you look back and you go, wow, we kind of floated around with like a 6.5 man rotation. Like that's the way it ended up working out. They might not ever have 6 guys in at the same time, like truly a 6-man rotation.
Mhm.
But I think you'll see him spread out the workload because at the end of the day, this team's about winning in October at this point, right? Like division championships are nice. Don't get me wrong. It's an accomplishment to be celebrated, but been there, done that, right? Like they're gearing up for October.
I don't think
Um,
anybody wants a repeat of the 90s,
no,
like 14 straight division titles and only one World Series.
yeah, particularly if the one World Series has already happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'll be interested to see how they play it out. Um, if the right guy is out there on the market, I wouldn't be that shocked if they go out and get somebody. Um,
at the deadline, though, that I
yeah,
keep seeing everybody screaming and hollering for AA to go find somebody.
yeah,
Nobody's selling anybody in April. It's not going to happen.
yeah.
You're going to see our Gwinnett guys until at earliest you would see somebody come in would be the All Star break. I mean, you're going to have to go
Maybe
ahead and
like
strap in and
Memorial
get
Day.
ready. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, with that, so I have a question because I always think that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to options, but for me and maybe for anybody else watching, can either of y'all explain to me how all the rules with options and bringing guys up and down work?
No, it's confusing.
From
Like
what
for
I
me, it
understand,
was.
from what
Yeah,
I understand, a player has 5 options. And so you can send them back and forth from the majors to the minors 5 times. Not in a season, like total.
Okay. Because
And so
I heard something that confused me the other day was like he's got another option year. So I was like, does that mean you can send him up and down as many times as you want during the year? Or is it
yeah.
strictly like, okay, you've got these 5 times and you get to use them?
I might be completely wrong on that. I don't know what the term option year is to full transparency. But I know there are some weird rules in terms of like, you know, as far as like service time goes for bringing them up and stuff like that. So I don't
I,
know.
my understanding is that an option is like good for the whole year. It's not up and back 5 individual actions, but that it's like in a year you can, if you do it once, that's one time. So you can do it back and forth for 5. I don't know, but 5 years seems like a lot. Like I said, I can't answer your
Yeah.
question well. It's more complicated than it seems like it ought to be. Or seems like
Yeah.
it needs to be.
And I guess I asked that question because that's really what's going to dictate what we do with guys coming out of Gwinnett, right? It's like who has options, who doesn't. What does it make sense to bring this guy up and down? I also think they're playing with a little bit of you probably have to pay guys differently, or you get hit with certain things if certain guys come up, or you retain control over people if they stay in Gwinnett longer, stuff like that is something I've heard talked about.
So I just Googled it. Once a player has been placed on a team's 40-man reserve list, a team has 3 option years on that player. A player is considered to have used one of those 3 option years when he spends at least 20 days in the minors in any of those 3 seasons. So I was completely wrong.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
not 5, it's 3. It's measured in years, but there's like this days component to it. It's complicated.
I'm gonna say you read that, and I'm still confused. So
Yeah, it's complicated.
So from what I'm understanding from that, like if we could bring Elder up and down 17 times this year,
Surely there's a
and
restriction on that though.
yeah, there's got to be. I think the number 5 plays into it somehow. Maybe you can only do it 5 times a year. I don't know.
Maybe.
Um, but yeah, no, that's interesting. Learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna be in the comments like, "You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah. On this topic, sure.
to be fair, that's how I
Fair.
started it with. I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about with this. I want to know. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you know, tell me in the comments. I would appreciate it.
Yep. So it's
Um,
but yeah, to your point, it'll play a factor here. And like I don't know all the rules, but I know that they matter, and I know that those who need to know about them know. So we'll see how it all plays out.
yeah, and I know that's something that AA looks for too when he's looking for young, controllable talent, looking for guys with options that they can use for that reason.
Now, so we know that we're going to see a lot of carousel from Gwinnett, right? It's going to be just going to be a rotating, revolving door, honestly. But when we get to Memorial Day or we get to the All-Star break, or is there anybody that we should be paying attention to? Or is there anybody that y'all have your eyes on that you'd like to see AA try to go after right now
Eric
to
Crochet.
fill that spot? Yeah, I thought that start against us, and we saw it live and in person, right? We got our firsthand experience with it. So I was like, oh, that guy can pitch.
Yeah,
So sure, he's on my list too.
I don't think that'll ever happen,
I
but
don't know.
it would be cool just considering what the White Sox were asking for Dylan Cease.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll ever happen, but it's on my wish list. It'd be cool.
Yeah. This Blackburn character out in Oakland, I think, is really intriguing. And shout out to Aegon on Twitter. He's been banging the trade for Blackburn drum since last trade deadline. But the guy's got an ERA of 0 right now. And obviously Oakland's in
Is
perpetual
that good?
sell mode.
And every time we get somebody from Oakland, it works out for us, right?
Yeah.
It's true.
So we'll see. I think that's a candidate. Honestly, if we're just being completely honest, did anybody ever see the Odorizzi trade coming or the Tommy Malone trade? Like, it's gonna be somebody you haven't heard of that you're gonna go, why the hell did we trade for that guy? Right? Like, and they'll come in and they'll eat innings. They'll follow the Chris Sale slogan, like if you're gonna suck, at least you eat some innings.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I don't know. Blackburn would be nice. I'm looking at a list of free agents right now because I do think I could see him signing like a free agent off the scrap heap at any time, right? So just some interesting names out there. Hyunjin Ryu, Zach Greinke, Johnny Cueto, Rich Hill. These are people that are all obviously they're not exciting anymore, right? I would like to have Greinke on the team, right? Just to see if he's still got it, if he can do anything at all. And I doubt he's clearly not the guy he used to be, but see if there's.
Do we know what his asking is?
No idea. Not a clue. He's a weirdo, or not a weirdo. Like I mean that in an endearing way, but like he's kind of he's a character. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he's asking for 30 million a year or if he's asking for 3. Like I think the guy has some interesting just perspective on the world he lives in. So
That's
who knows?
a very good way to put it. I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Baseball Doesn't Exist as a really good YouTube channel. He did like a little mini documentary on Zach Greinke as the weirdest player in baseball. You should watch it. It's like 20 minutes. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
The dude is a goofball, and it would be an interesting thing. Fun fact: I think Zach Greinke might have been the last ever pitcher to get a base hit in a World Series against us.
Against the Braves, right?
Yep.
Yeah. You got to bring him in for the off the bench, right? Like he's your 5th pitcher, he's your 6th infielder, bat off the bench. Didn't he pinch hit in that game?
I don't think he pinch hit, but I mean there was no universal DH and we were at home. So I think he was in the lineup. He might have pinch hit.
Pinch hit at some
I
point
might be
during that
wrong.
series. I could be wrong too, or maybe pinch ran. I don't know.
I remember
Anyhow,
him. He was on base at some point. I think
Yeah,
it was
with
the
the
Ian
jacket.
Anderson game. I might be wrong there.
Yeah.
Speaking of him, he's coming. I mean, we haven't even talked about that.
You're right.
Yeah. Is he throwing yet?
No, I don't. Well, I don't recall. I saw some report about it, but I don't.
I keep hearing
remember
June, July. I don't know if that's when they expect him to be ready or is that's when he's going to start throwing in games.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Because I do know that Noah is pitching right now. They're starting him pretty slow. I think he doesn't really go more than a couple of innings, but he's already throwing in Gwinnett.
Remember, he was throwing like 97, 98, 99. Now he's hitting like 92.
Don't remind me. That was a bad day for me when he punched that wall.
That was so dumb.
I know.
He was pitching so well and hitting home runs. Like, what?
But imagine if you could get him and Jared Kelnick on a baseball diamond together. You got the guy that kicked the trash can, the guy that punched the brick wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can hang out.
They probably learned a lot from their stupid mistakes. Man, what could have been?
Guess how old Madison Bumgarner is?
He's
35?
only like.
Is that?
He's younger than 35, right? I think he's like 33.
He's 34 and 265. I would have guessed he was closer to 40.
Huh.
Just because of the way he's kind of like treated now, right? Like he's just like no good, hasn't been good for years.
I wonder if is he still like trying to get signed?
Who knows? I'm just scraping the bottom of the barrel on these guys who are still free agents.
All right. People have been bringing it up.
Are you going where you think you're going?
I'm probably going where you think I'm going. What do you think about Trevor Bauer?
No, there's a reason why 29 other teams haven't signed him.
Yeah.
I think that's all that needs to be said. I mean, and I think last year was where the clip that keeps getting shown is Snit going absolutely not, but I think that's from last year, and obviously the situation, the landscape has changed now with Strider going down,
and also with some of the accusations being dropped, as well. And being proven that it was like fake.
Well, I maybe I haven't dug into the legal enough, and I'm certainly a lawyer by no means, but my understanding is that because I see a lot of people spouting off on social media saying, "Well, he was proven innocent." That is certainly not true, right?
No.
I think
no.
Yeah, he was never proven innocent about anything. I think charges were dropped. I think evidence came out to show that things were fabricated or exaggerated. But
so I looked into it a little bit. So first of all, that was one case. There are multiple accusations against him.
Right. There's other ones still out there pending.
I don't think he's actually still facing charges necessarily. I did see something that Trevor Bauer said recently that I think he commented on something on Twitter. He said he doesn't have any like upcoming court dates or anything like that. But that one particular case, he was able to go public with screenshots of the girl talking to one of her friends saying that, she's basically just trying to extort him and, slander his name to get money out of him, more or less. Does that change the fact that he's a weirdo? No. But I did see it. I did see an interesting take. What's that?
Not a Granky kind of weirdo, like a bad kind of weirdo.
Yeah, like a bad kind of weirdo. I mean, if you're into like the kinky shit, like that's fine. I don't care. But like,
no issue with that.
Just make sure it's consensual. You know what I mean? That's all I'm gonna say about that. But there was something interesting that I saw that somebody posted on Facebook, which always has a whole slew of different types of takes, especially when it comes to Braves baseball. But one of them said, like, okay, you're worried about clubhouse issues. Sit him down. It sounds silly saying this out loud, but when I read it, I was like, okay, this isn't a terrible idea. He's like, all right, sit him down with the clubhouse leaders with like Ozzy and Riley and Matt Olson and Snit and AA and sit down and be like, look, like we need you to pitch and don't be a fucking weirdo. Don't mess with the clubhouse vibes. We got all this shit going down. If you do anything stupid, we're going to cut you right away, but we're going to give you a chance.
When you put it in those terms, it's kind of like.
But why hasn't anybody else done that though? It seems simple.
Nobody thinks as creative as AA does.
Yeah.
I said, go ahead.
I think I don't know all the details, but I feel comfortable saying that like the general public doesn't know as much as the actual franchises. I think there are some things that they know that they're like not supposed to know, but they know, and they're not able to share because of NDAs and whatnot. So I'll say that. And as far as the Braves are concerned, I think this guy, like, he had issues before this, right? Like, I don't like, the Guardians, or the Indians at the time, the Guardians now, they gave him away for like a can of Coke. He hasn't gotten along with Garrett Cole since they were both at UCLA. I don't recall there being like specific things when he was in Cincinnati, but I
Mookie
don't know.
Betts
I
came
just
out
think
and
he's
said
like
that he
kind of an
loved him as a
asshole.
teammate.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of a dick and like not a good teammate. So with the Braves, they've obviously prioritized that. I've never met Trevor Bauer. I can't speak to his whether he's like a good guy or not, but
I'm torn there because I've watched a couple of, so he's pretty active on YouTube right now. And I've watched some of his stuff, and he at least gives off the impression that he is trying to work on himself and be better. And he understands all of the drama surrounding him and his name and what others think about him. And it does seem like he's making a legitimate move to try to distance himself from that. The issue, I think, is that it's a higher than just the managerial level or the general manager level. I think owners in the league are like coming down, telling their managers, no, look, I don't want to deal with all the media backlash and drama surrounding this. We don't want that. So, yeah, can he pitch? I think everybody knows 100%. Dude can still pitch. I mean, he's shown that a couple of times in spring training. And then obviously he can pitch, certainly the amount of pitching he can give you for 700K, right? So the only thing that makes sense is that owners like, I don't want to deal with the drama backlash. So it is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's more of a PR thing than anything. But also, I mean, Ty brought up a good point too, that there's probably stuff that the public doesn't know. And I get that too. But like the whole Mookie Betts thing kind of makes me wonder, like Mookie Betts said that he was a good teammate and he would love to have him back. So I don't know. Maybe the dude's maturing and like you said too, Will, like just trying to kind of like better himself and learn from his mistakes. Like I kind of respect that, but at the same time, like I don't know. I feel like it's definitely a gamble either way.
The thing I keep falling back on is everybody needs pitching in MLB and everybody wants it for cheap. So why isn't it even gobbled up by anybody else? We're not the Braves aren't the only ones with a pitching problem right now.
True.
I don't think the Braves have a pitching problem.
Yeah, well, I'm quoting all my favorite people on the internet right now.
Yeah. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like it's not because can't pitch. It's not because he's too expensive. It's clearly some combination of like the media perception, the off-field issues, the clubhouse. It's like things that like can't be quantified in terms of like ERA and dollars and cents. And there's probably some factors that require actually knowing Trevor Bauer or knowing more about what happened that we don't know. So I don't know. I think it's like honestly, like I'm glad we had this discussion, but I don't. The Braves aren't going to sign him. I just like don't see it.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Like it's just such kind of like a dead horse to me. But I mean, this has been good. I don't think the three of us have actually talked about it, but I think we've all seen just an obnoxious number of people talking about it on social media or calling into
every Spencer Strider post from anywhere. The first comment is always sign Bauer. So
yeah, it's just such a. It's just not going to happen. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it's not even a realistic thing to get hoped up about, right? Like, let's just stop. There's nothing to talk about. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way, and that's why I brought it up, just so we can address it. And
just like
like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll make that into a short, and we can share it with people whenever we see the comments.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty good analysis of the situation. Like how you said, you broke it down. It's not his talent as a pitcher. It's not the money. Obviously, it's obviously some sort of, something that we don't know, or like clubhouse issues, whatever it is. But something that I think though is worth talking about is that something interesting that you said, Ty, was that the Braves don't have a pitching problem, but it seems to me like everybody thinks that the world is falling, or like the season is over because we lost the series to the Mets in April. I think a good analogy to this is like football, because in football, if you lose 2 or 3 games, you only play 16 games in a season, like NFL anyway.
Right.
And like if you are an inferior team, you're going to get exposed, and that is a big deal. But in baseball, it's such a fluky game that it it doesn't matter. Like in the big scheme of things, I mean, we've seen both ends of it, right? Last year we won 104 games, we lost in the first round of the playoffs. Like none of that regular season stuff matters. So you get to the playoffs and you show up and you hit. But the other end of that works as well. Like we're still on pace. I did the math like 2 days
It's
ago. We're still,
104,
yeah, we're on pace for 104 again. Like,
I believe
Oh
so.
shucks.
oh darn.
Yeah,
I,
no,
I
by the
wish
way,
we were
Ronald
better.
hasn't hit yet.
But
Like
Yeah.
you can't
pitching's been,
expect.
admittedly has been bad thus far.
We
Yeah, not
haven't
great.
we haven't played 10% of the season yet. That's
Yeah.
in football terms, that's one game.
Yeah.
Starting today, well, because we won today, we could realistically go on like a 12-game win streak and have the best record in baseball for the next, for the rest of the season. Like it could start there. You know what I mean? Obviously the polar
I,
opposite of that could happen too, but
I think we have a pitching problem. It's just ultra magnified and intensified. One, because it's the beginning of the year. I think if we saw some of this mid-season, it would kind of like that game against the Mets where we got stomped 17-3. I think if that's in June or July, that kind of gets swept under the rug. It's not as focused on because like, oh, it's just baseball. But because we're at the beginning of the year, it's all eyes on it. And then really where I was going with this is pitching is so magnified right now because we lost Spencer Strider. Right.
true.
Everybody's hitting the panic button because it just sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does really suck.
Yeah, it sucks. And can we just like make one thing abundantly clear? There is nothing you can do to replace Spencer Strider or to prepare for someone like Spencer Strider getting hurt. They're just like simply like the Braves are in very good position to deal with this. I mean, we had a discussion earlier about all of the different options they have that could fill that role. And the fact that every single one of those guys are going to get a chance. Other teams don't have that. Like, and then I didn't even remember Ian Anderson or Inoa or any of these other people. Like maybe they'll work, maybe they won't. But the Braves are well positioned to handle this. But like, you can't replace somebody like that. It's just that simple. But like, friendly reminder that I'm looking through the World Series from 2021 right now. The game starters were Charlie Morton, Max Fried. I'm trying to figure it out.
Dylan Lee and Tucker Davidson.
Yeah, right. Like you can win a World Series without having with the guys that are on Ian Anderson. Like most of these guys are still on the team, right? Like you can. So I guess my point is, like, to your point, Kevin, just to kind of reinforce what you said a moment ago. It's kind of a crapshoot once you get into the playoffs. And I don't think anybody is concerned about the regular season. Like at the end of the day, it's one rotation spot. Anyhow.
Yeah,
and that's why we went out and got a Chris Sale. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we brought him in. Okay, we had more. We were short up in 1, 2, 3, and then one guy because we saw what happened when guys go down going into the NLDS last year. And okay, now we're down a guy, but we're still okay. We're still afloat.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I think the Mets are better than people give them credit for. What do y'all think?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
End of topic. Move on.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's easy. Obviously, everybody likes to make fun of the Mets, right? They're kind of a good punching bag. But to be honest, I think as dumb as the moves they made were to go out and pay Verlander all that money, and did they trade for Scherzer? They traded or signed him as a free agent? I can't
Signed him
remember.
as a free agent and then traded him.
Yeah, but like dumping those guys, they've gotten good value back. I mean, they got Acuna, as much as it pains me to say it, they got little Acuna back for Scherzer, I believe.
Yeah.
But they've got kind of a good lineup, in my opinion. It's that guy Alvarez behind the plate is good. Alonso is a goof, but he's good at baseball. And
Nemo's
Lindor
good.
not, yeah, like Lindor is good. Nimmo is another goof that's good at baseball. McNeil is a goof. They got a bunch of goofs that are good at baseball. I'm a big fan of Marte.
Somebody you're forgetting too is JD Martinez.
Oh
JD
yeah,
Martinez plays on the team.
yep,
Yeah.
he does.
He's been in AAA because he got signed late. It was like a few days before the season started, I think. He's been in AAA, and so he'll be up as their DH.
It's a
It
pretty
looks
good team.
like Francisco Lindor has got his average up above one now.
Congrats.
Yeah.
When he walked into Truist Park on Monday, it was a .083. And so like
Yep.
I was standing up going, I've got a higher blood alcohol content than Francisco Lindor's batting average.
Did you get
Yeah,
yelled at to keep it down because the cameras can hear you?
no. But actually, there
No.
were a lot more Mets fans in there than I really was comfortable with this past series. But I think there's just a lot of New York people. It's the whole transplant Atlanta thing.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, always a lot.
they started a "Let's Go Mets" chant when they were mounting their comeback on
Tuesday.
well, actually on both days, honestly. But
Gross.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
gross.
gross.
There's always a lot of Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers fans there.
Yeah.
The worst though is when we're getting beat like somewhere like Philly and they start doing the chop.
Yeah.
I hate that
Yeah, I
shit.
got firsthand experience with it. It was you kind of just got to take it. Honestly, I just looked at it. I was like, you sort of want to start chopping along with them, but then they like yell at you for doing the chop. But like with their version of it is just asshole, asshole. I was like, honestly, I'm kind of a fan of when you take somebody else's thing and flip it on them. So I give them props for being creative about it. But
I would probably do the same thing if I was
yeah,
a
oh yeah, for
you know what I
sure.
mean? I get it.
I always just think it's just such an iconic cheer. Like, I don't care if that offends people, right? Like, I wouldn't know how to mock the Phillies or the Mets if I wanted to. Like, how do you mock the Mets? By like
Looking at
not
their
winning the
record.
division for 20 years? Like, I don't know, like, or like either one of them, like not winning a World Series since the iPhone's been created. Like, I just like, I don't know what you do to like, I don't know how you would mock those teams. So I take it as kind of like a compliment in that regard.
That's
It's
a
an
really good way
iconic
to look
cheer.
at it.
Like, I think anybody like would who would deny that. Like, obviously it's like borrowed from Florida State, and I don't care.
Well, it's Dion. I mean, Dion
Right,
brought it here.
right.
Yeah.
So I
I
don't
think
know.
it's little brother syndrome. It's NLE's little brother syndrome. So you know.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't
Some
think we have
regard.
room to talk though when it comes to the Phillies though, because they've kicked our ass in October
Totally agree.
twice.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
No doubt about
but
that. They've
then
won
what
when it
happened?
matters the last
But then
2 years.
what happened? They
Well,
didn't
the
do
first
anything
time they
with
at
it
least
either.
made it to the World Series. I mean, we can make fun of them for
Sure.
losing the World Series, but and then they got beat by the D-backs, so that was pretty funny. The D-backs are good too. We just
Yeah, that
swept them.
was a good team we beat.
That was a really good series. And I think the bullpen was just gassed after that series because they have not been great this week.
Yeah, they've not been strong this week at all. So
Um, yeah, I had some stats pulled up here. Where did I put them here? The bullpen this week, 14 innings pitched, 27 hits, 15 runs, 9.64
Mm.
ERA, and 4 homers. Not
that's not
great.
good. That is not good. So
Not great. But
Does
to be
that
fair,
include that grand slam
I was
in
just about to say that
game?
that
Yeah,
Guillorme gave up.
does
It
it?
yeah.
includes that.
So that's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, he was technically a pitcher, but I mean, even without that, like the numbers still aren't good.
Yeah.
And I know that the guys in the pen down there know that they need to do better. But um, today, who pitched today? Dylan Lee gave up that homer, which was not a great pitch, but you know, it's baseball. Sometimes it happens. But then Minter, who pitched today? It was Minter, Jimenez, and Iggy. They shut it
Yeah.
down. They looked great. Minter looked disgusting today.
Oh, dude, Minner looked
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, he looked locked in for sure. Max Fried turning it around, going 7 shutout, 1 run, one run innings.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Reed looked good on
We knew that was
Friday.
going to happen
yeah,
too. I
oh,
mean,
100%.
honestly, I know he had that bad first inning. Um, what game was that? I guess that was the Diamondbacks, right?
One against the Diamondbacks, one against Philly. Yeah, both of those
So I
starts were
mean,
really good.
yeah, you don't have to remind me about the Philly inning. I was there. I was sitting
Yeah,
live in front of it. But I'm talking about that he gave up 6 in that first inning against Arizona. But if you watch the rest of that game, he locked in. He didn't have much trouble after that. He had that one bad turnaround throw to second that got away from him that gave up some runs. But his pitching was fine, I felt like. So it wasn't a big surprise to me that he came in and put it. I mean, I was happy to see him go full 7, but it didn't shock me. I was like, Max Fried's been doing this too long. He's too good. He's gonna get together. It's April. I mean, he had 2 rough goes, and I've got trust in the guy, and so does everybody else on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. It just sucks when your first couple starts of the year, um, aren't great, and then it inflates your stats, and you spend the whole season like whittling it back down. Like he's got an 8.74 ERA right now, which is obviously not who Max Fried is.
Right.
But obviously that's inflated by, a couple bad starts. Oh, actually, you know what? This is Baseball Reference and hasn't updated his start from the other day. So that doesn't even include his 7 shutout or 1-run innings. ERA last 7 days is 1.42.
I calculated some stats the other day. Here, let me find it. Yeah, I mean, I was just pulling off a Baseball Reference to be able to do this. So if you take from the 2020 season through the end of the year last year, Max Fried made 38 starts against teams that finished 500 or better. And in those 38 games, he averaged right around 6 innings pitched, 1.44 earned runs, 1.32 walks, and 6 Ks, and he had a 2.87 FIP. So that's what he averaged in those 38 games against teams
Wow.
that finished 500 or better. So
Is that good?
Max Fried is good.
Yeah.
Max Fried's good at baseball.
Yes, Max Fried.
Conclusion reached.
Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna be, and it's a contract year for him. Like he's gonna be particularly good at baseball this year. Like
I think so too.
Yeah.
Well, and now it's his it's his rotation to lead, right? It's like, okay,
He's the
kid,
ace
here's
now.
the reins. Yeah, here's the reins.
Yep.
I don't know if I haven't heard any drama where he was getting upset about Strider getting the limelight or anything, but if there ever was that, it's like, okay, here's your chance, show us.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as the type of person who would be bothered by that.
No, me neither.
I think in the people who actually sign the checks recognize that being the opening day starter is about the most meaningless like accolade you could possibly have, right? Like at the end of the day, it just doesn't matter at all. It's more for the fans. And I think somebody pointed out that the way they timed it up, so like Strider started game 1 in Philly, had we not had the rain out in Chicago, Fried would have been the home opener starter.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
It doesn't, I guarantee you he doesn't care.
After that first time through the rotation, the opening day starter does not matter one bit.
Right. Yep, exactly. So he'll be good. Braves will be good. Pitching will be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, do we want to do a little A-list insider bit from our A-list insider, William White?
What do you want to know? I've got the inside scoop.
What's your record in games that you've been to this year? Because you went to the first 2 games in Philly, right? Those count.
So this is me and my wife's first year of getting A-list tickets, which so far has been a pretty good experience. I've enjoyed it. Starting to make friends with my seatmates, getting in group text, be like, hey, does anybody have tickets today? Da, da, da. Let me borrow these. Let me sell you those. But so I have been to 6 games. 2 of them were in Philly. Currently, my record is 5-1. So my only loss was that Mets loss on that Monday, Hank Aaron Day.
That's a pretty good record. You should keep going to games.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell my boss. I was trying to tell my boss, I was like, hey, look, because at that point, I don't remember what day it was, but Braves were 5-1 when I attended games, and they were 2-3 when I was not at the game. So I was like, hey, manager, I need to miss work today because Braves need to win.
Right.
So
priorities.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think opening day weekend was packed. Friday was just as you would expect, right? It's hustle and bustle. But I will say when we went on Sunday, same opening weekend against the Diamondbacks, that was actually, you could tell it started to get back to normal. It was more pleasant. You can actually walk through the walkways. Bathrooms aren't overflowing with pee everywhere and people out the door. The best thing I've done actually is I've made friends with the beer vendor. So I'm in the second to last row in my section. So I can now turn around to the beer vendor, be like, "Hey man," and then he passes me a beer. I pass him my card. I don't have to get out of my seat. So
It's basically like Truist Club seats.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
that's some
For like
A-list
a tenth of the
service right there.
price.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Except you got to pay for it though. In Truist Club, you don't have to pay for it. By the way, I highly recommend doing that like once a year. You can get tickets on StubHub for like 250 bucks. It's a super cool experience. You get there early, you go in there, you get a ton of like really good food. You can get like steak and fish and burgers and you get whatever you want. And not only that, beer and wine is free, which is cool, whatever. But also like all your snacks. So like if you want a hot dog or like some popcorn or peanuts, all that stuff's free. And
Yep.
so like when you really add up everything, like if you were gonna go to a game and like really splurge and like eat and drink your heart out, you'd probably spend not too far off of that. And so it's not like a go every time I go to the game, I'm gonna do it, but it's like a once in a year, like treat myself for my birthday kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it.
It definitely makes sense if you're bringing, like, let's say you got your parents are in town, or like you're bringing a bunch of people and your kids. Like it makes sense when you do it for something like that, and you get to park in the orange deck.
Well, you got to
So
pay
it's
separately for the ticket, the parking,
yeah,
I
it's
think.
true. But yeah, no, I mean it's all you can eat. I mean you could literally stay in there. I think they cut it off at like some point in the game. It might be like the third or the fifth, but you can stay in there as long as you want. Just gorge yourself. And the food's always. I haven't had anything that's bad from any of
Yeah.
those buffets. So
Yeah, they have this really good steak dish that I get. I've only been twice and gotten in there, but yeah, it's really good. Food's good.
that's the new thing. Okay, so I think I always knew this, but I've never really implemented it. So you can bring a gallon-sized bag full of whatever you want.
Mhm.
So, but like a bottle of water, snacks. So I've got my go-to stuff, but me and my friends are talking because some of my other buddies got tickets like two sections to down third baseline from us. We're like, what can we bring in that'll be really, really weird? So he came up with he wanted to bring in a gallon-sized bag of mashed potatoes, and I think I'm going with spaghetti and meatballs. Just like imagine some dope is sitting next to you, just like spooning a gallon bag. Because first of all, like, okay, it's not in a Tupperware, it's in just a Ziploc bag, right? Or like imagine going through security and they're like, "What is this?" Like, it's my spaghetti. So
It's
I'm
allowed.
definitely gonna do that one time, and
Yeah.
I'll let you know how that goes. And it definitely will not be on a game where I'm wearing white. Let's say that for sure.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't wear a jersey either.
Yeah.
That's
Sounds
funny.
like fun. Yeah.
Cool. Well, so looking ahead to next week, going to Houston, little rematch of the World Series 2021. They came last year, and I believe we got swept at home.
Yep.
Not ideal. I think they're having some pitching issues as well. They've gotten off to a really rough start. I think there are a few games below 500. Does anybody have the pitching matchups pulled up?
No,
I can go real quick.
I know we're sending out Vines tomorrow. Then it'll
Yep.
be Lopez on Tuesday,
And then
followed
Max,
by
right?
Max on Wednesday. Yeah, on their side, I'm not sure. They're having some trouble for sure, just in general.
Okay, it is Vine versus Eric Getty, Lopez versus Brown, and Freed versus France.
I don't know who any of those people are.
Yeah.
I know Hunter Brown is supposed to be pretty good, or at least he has potential. I don't know if he's doing well this year, but I know he's been somebody that people have been talking about.
Yeah.
ERA the last 7 days is 121.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
Okay.
solid.
And that whole team just looks. I mean, they're not that different from the Braves in that they've kind of cycled out a lot of people. I mean, if you look at the Braves 2021 roster versus today's roster, it looks very different. And I don't think they're. I think they are of similar mind in terms of not overpaying for players and things of that nature. So, I mean, they let
Well,
Correa go. They let who else did they let go?
who is the Anthopoulos exec who went over there? Dana Brown? Dana
Dana
White?
Brown.
Not Dana White, Dana Brown. Yeah, he
Yeah.
worked with Anthopoulos for a while, so they're of the same,
Yeah.
methodology.
So, the Astros are the Astros, right? Like, A, they are going to be in the playoffs, and they're like death, taxes, and the Astros in the ALCS. Like it's just like the way the world works. And then I'm looking forward to the series. I don't care what the record is. I respect the hell out of that team. And I'm looking forward to the series. And we'll,
I'm glad they have a roof so it doesn't get rained out.
that
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
that
I'm tired of rainouts. Like, are we done with rainouts for the year?
I'm sure we're
At least for the month?
Yeah.
I heard this posed on a different podcast somewhere, so let's see what you think about it. Do you think that we're at the beginning of the end, or are we in the mid cycle of the Houston dynasty is over and fading away?
So I think after this year, I think Bregman is a free agent unless they re-sign him. I know they just re-signed Altuve like this year or last year for like 5 more years, so he'll be there for a bit. Um,
Because I mean,
Jordan,
some
I
of those
think.
pieces are starting to go. They're starting to all get a little bit older. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they still have some young talent though. Jordan is young too. I don't think he's 30 yet.
Older.
Obviously, I think that was an overreaction to the start that they've had to start the series. I think that's kind of where some of that came from, but it was a
Jordan is only
interesting.
26. Yeah, they definitely got off to a little bit of a rough start. I honestly haven't been following them too much. But I know Kyle Tucker's hit some bombs this year. They got Chas McCormick out there is decent. Jeremy Pena had a little bit of slow start at the plate, but he's been killing it. Um, I basically know this because I play MLB The Show, and those are good cards, good guys to play with in the game. Um, but yeah, I follow them a little bit in real life and stuff. But yeah, it'll be a good series for sure. I definitely will like the 8 o'clock start times. I'm more
Yeah,
of
me
a
too.
night owl. Um, and then where do we go after that?
Coming
They're
back
coming here
home
for
and host the
Texas. Yeah,
Rangers.
World Series.
That's right.
The reigning World Series champs are coming to town.
Like the week of World Series matchups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting too. Playing the Rangers.
For sure.
That'll be a good matchup. Man, I have nightmares of freaking Corey Seager against the Braves though.
And that
Or what's his face that's huge this year, right? And got all ball. I keep seeing pictures of
Garcia.
yeah, just yoked.
I've been hearing stories that people think he's juicing. Is it like a legit theory?
sure. Yeah. Let's start the rumor. No, we have
I
no.
think the rumor's already started. I mean, they showed
Okay.
a picture of him because he came from the Cardinals, I believe. He got traded there a few years ago, and I saw a picture of him with the Cardinals, and he was not
Yeah.
jacked like he is now. But that's over the course of a few years. Maybe he works out every day. You
Well,
never
what's he
know.
like
I don't know.
25, 26 too, right? Like these people are in the prime athletic periods of their life, right? Like it's not totally unheard of for somebody who's like hits 21, quits growing vertically, and starts being able to put on some muscle mass. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, they're growing up from their little boys' bodies to grown men
Yep,
bodies.
Well,
exactly. So
Garcia's 31.
Oh, no.
He was born in 93.
okay. Yeah, juicing. I don't know. Must be. But even then, like 31, I mean, I think like that's probably peak. Like for a professional athlete like this, I mean, I think 30-ish is probably when you get your like you've had years of like building onto your an adult like frame. Who knows? Like I don't think it's totally unreasonable for somebody to get at their largest physically at the age of 31.
Yeah.
If it had happened at 41, like some people that we know throughout history, then you start raising some eyebrows. But who knows? I mean, I think the MLB testing is pretty stringent now, isn't it? Like, I don't know that you could get away with like it'd be pretty bold to be trying
Yeah.
to do that.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, you'd be stupid to like
Yeah.
do that because I feel like,
It's
I
not
feel
good.
like it's kind of like a drug test at a job where like if you show up to work and you look stoned, you're probably gonna get drug tested. Like if you just randomly in the off season gain 20 pounds of muscle, like, hey,
You're gonna get
go,
randomly selected. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like you said, I feel like you'd have to be pretty bold or stupid or both to do that.
Looks like you got Nathan Eovaldi Michael Lorenzen and John Gray are their starters for the Texas series.
John
We're
Gray's
gonna
the
have
last one.
we're gonna have Sale Morton and then that unnamed. I guess
Oh,
it's the fifth
Vines
spot, but
probably.
yeah, that spot. I mean, it
That
shows
ranking.
Vines on there now, but Grinky.
Yeah.
But yeah, that slot.
Okay.
What about old friend Cheerios, man? Eliani Chirinos?
Cheerios. Yeah.
We had a running joke in our
Cheerios.
group chat that we called him Cheerios whenever he would go out there and
Yanni
blow it.
Chirinos.
I called them churros. Actually, the joke was that you could call them a lot of different things, and we all knew what we were talking
Yeah.
Yeah. I should have changed the subject because I did want to talk about the Chris Sale and Lorenzen matchup. That was who's Friday, right?
No, that's Morton and Lorenzen. That's Saturday, Morton v. Lorenzen.
Okay, who is pitching on Friday for the Rangers? Projected anyway.
Valdi.
Valdi. That'll be a good matchup.
Yeah.
Sale versus Valdi. I might try to go to that game.
Yeah, I'll be there Friday and Saturday. Sunday's at 7 p.m. also, FYI.
Oh, that's a national game, huh? I'll be on
Yes, it's
ESPN.
on ESPN. Oh, it looks like Friday's Apple TV, by the way.
Ah, boo.
Oh, that makes me want
But
to go.
I mean, I'll be
I
there.
love the Apple TV broadcasts. They're amazing.
I hate the commentary, but like the production quality is great.
Okay. So you can put on the Braves
Yeah.
radio. This is like
Yeah, you told me that. That's super cool.
I mean, I was doing that when Ty and I went to the Tuesday game against the Mets, and we're sitting there, and I just popped in some earbuds and had a little tiny radio, and I was just listening to radio. And Ty's like talking to me. I was like, "Wait, what?" It's like, "Oh, sorry, I was ignoring you." But yeah, so that was
So
like.
is it just? Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying that was the best way I've ever done it.
Have
Just
you?
listen
Was
to
it?
radio and watch. It's like a half a pitch. It's probably like 5 seconds delayed.
That's what I was gonna ask. Yeah, was it through the app or you had like an actual FM radio?
No. I went to Walmart. I went to Wally World and got me a little $12
with like the Bartman.
That's what I wanted. No, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, the
was the
Steve
big one,
Bartman headphones.
like my dad would used to wear it like LSU football games with the antenna and everything. But no, they don't make those anymore. No, I wanted something that would like fit in my pocket and be little, and I could just because it really what it helped me with is I could really calibrate like where the pitches were. Like, okay, they tell me that was an inside or outside, and then I was like, okay, now I know my baseline, so now I know.
Yeah,
but
I
they
wish
give
you
you a
had
little
that.
bit more detail too. Like I knew that I forgot who it was, but somebody was 0-4 against Nutsack, and they got their first hit off of him. So stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely like hearing the commentary, and I wish you would have had that for that pitch to Castellanos in Philly with Max Fried, the one that was right down the middle, got called a ball.
Yeah,
that was horrible.
Sure.
That was horrible. Did you guys see that Angel Hernandez at bat in the Texas game, the Rangers Astros game?
Where he didn't swing at 4 straight balls and he struck him out?
Yeah. A foot outside the zone.
Yeah. I swear he's doing it on purpose at this point.
How does this man have a job?
I don't know.
I get it's the union, but like the fuck.
I think he's trying to get fired so that he can sue the MLB again.
I could see that.
I can't think of anything that's more universally agreed upon by fans across all of Major League Baseball. Like you'll find people who like don't want automated strike zones, which I'm in favor of the like appeal thing that they've got going in the minor leagues. That seems to me like the best like common ground. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, a different discussion. But everyone agrees Angel Hernandez is awful and nobody wants him to ever officiate one of their games again. Like I don't understand how there's not something that can be done about this guy. Yeah, maybe it's the union. Maybe I don't know. Yeah,
I feel like something has to be done.
My buddy was at that game. So the game that Angel Hernandez, that was Texas versus Houston. And then he was texting me, and then I texted him the next morning. I was like, "Oh, dude, you were at the Angel game." He goes, "Wait." And so my friend is British, so he doesn't even know any of that. And he goes, "What do you mean? Like, what's up with this guy?" I was like, "I don't even know how to describe this to you. Like, there's just too much to talk about." At this point, it's not even a joke. It's not even memeable anymore. It's just so add that to your list: death, taxes, Houston in the ALCS, and Angel Hernandez is going to just inflate his ego on a game and just control everything.
I did see a stat that in the history of like umpire accuracy tracking, that was the worst pitch ever that was missed. That was a ball that was called a strike.
Wow.
I think they measured it. It was like 6.9 inches outside of the zone or something. That's like, I mean, a baseball is like this. That's like what, like 3 inches. That's like a two full balls outside of the zone.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I do think like even in the game on Saturday, I remember specifically Riley had an at bat, and I wasn't actually watching the game, but I had the live pulled up. We were at a 2-year-old's birthday party, but I had that like the live pitch tracking pulled up in the MLB app, and it was three straight balls to Riley, sliders away. The first one was called a strike, and then so Riley ended up swinging at the next two because the others were called a strike, and he struck out, which he could have hit the ball, but like that one pitch ruined the whole at bat. Calling that first one a ball or calling it a strike when it was clearly not.
Ozuna got caught with one of those too. It was low. It was
Yep.
An inch or two under the zone, and they rung him up.
Yep. Remember that Sales at walked a burger in his blow up inning, if you want to call it that. Like,
oh yeah, that's true.
It's just crazy how like I like the nuance of it's like, oh, it's a tight zone or it's a white zone or tall zone, you know what I mean? But like that's kind of a fun aspect of baseball, but at the same time, like when you're taking teams out of games because of terrible calls, I think that's where you got to draw the line.
Yeah.
I saw a good clip from the minors today. It was what's his name? LSU boy. I'm blanking hard. I'm getting tired. The number one pick. Oh yeah, Skeens, Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
So he was pitching, and normally the way that works in the minors, right? So you get 2 appeals on pitches, right? But normally the way it works is that teams don't really want their pitcher calling for the appeal. The catcher is usually the one doing it. Well, Paul Skeens like lit one up on the inside corner. They called it a ball, and he immediately just goes, "Nope, check it," and then got it overturned. But then the caption was, "Paul Skeens is coming for Angel Hernandez's job." So
that's amazing. I would love to see Angel Hernandez call Paul Skeens game. I mean, Paul Skeens throws so damn hard, like he probably wouldn't even be able to catch up with the ball and like see the ball.
Dude, I think so Angel Hernandez was probably looking at the eclipse without glasses on. That's what happened.
Yeah, I could see that.
So I'm looking at umpire scorecard data in the background here, and it looks like Angel Hernandez isn't even like the worst. So CB Buckner is the one that's known for being like really bad and not like I don't know. They're both really, really bad, I guess. But there's a fair number of people here listed that are worse according to their whatever
That's
this
very interesting
number is. Yeah, it just makes me. I don't know. This is reaching back to 2015, so maybe it's gotten worse over the last 5 years.
Does umpire scorecards have a website, or is that you just looking on Twitter?
They've got a website, and you can look up all the data.
Interesting. I'll have to look that up. I did not know that. I thought it was just like what they had on Twitter, and they post like the scorecards every day.
Yeah, they take all that data and they kind of store it in some base, but
yeah. But all right, guys. Well, it's been fun. We went a little longer than we planned, but we're just kind of shooting the shit and hanging out. But do you guys have any final notes that you want to add about this past week or the upcoming week?
I think for me, the one thing and it's something we haven't talked about, the league is on notice. Jared Kelenic has a cannon and is athletic as hell in the outfield. So do not run on that man. He will throw you out.
What an upgrade from Eddie Rosario. I love Eddie Rosario and what he did in the 2021 NLCS, but holy shit. Jared Kelenic is such an upgrade. Yeah. Even Duvall. Both of them.
Yeah, I've got nothing really to look at. I think you'll see the bullpen bounce back. Like I think that's going to be kind of my key for the week. And we'll see what Vines does tomorrow. But yeah, I don't know. We got some tough matchups this week. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. I'd be pretty happy, I guess, if we come in 3-3, sitting here next week. I guess next week we have a night game, so maybe it'll be a Monday show. But we're able to split these 6 games. I'll feel pretty comfortable with that. Yeah, team's good. They're only gonna get better. Yeah, looking forward to some good matchups this week for sure.
Yeah, sounds good, guys. I mean, yeah, just to kind of echo what you guys said, I'd be satisfied with 3-3, but 4-2 would be better after these next 6 games. But yeah, some really exciting matchups. We're playing two really good teams, so obviously the first or the I guess the two really good teams that we played so far are the Phillies and the Diamondbacks, and the Mets too. The Mets are good. But yeah, it'll be a really good kind of test to see kind of where we sit against, the World Series champion of last year and then the World Series champion of the year before. And then obviously we're the team before that. So it's the most three recent World Series champions are going to be playing this week. So that'll be really interesting. And yeah, I might end up going to the game on Friday.
Yeah,
Okay, let me know.
Mike,
I'll see you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for your time. If you're watching, like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And we will